is good.
Hey, Asa.
Too long, Asa.
Well, we figure we should bring it back because it's all about to kick off.
Yeah, can't believe it. This is the shortest off season. Just a couple months, and here we are right back at it. Games that matter, games that mean something. Yeah, starting tonight for the Vancouver Whitecaps. So, yeah, didn't take too long, and I'm excited to see this team. New coach, such a wild off season with the team being up for sale as well. Plenty of player movement. Also, the most shocking, probably Stuart Armstrong leaving from Spain in the middle of their preseason.
Quickly, Asa?
Yeah, that happened. That was rapid. So, yeah, it's been a wild off season, and I think the expectations are just how fans felt about this team throughout the off season is it went down, honestly, with Vanni Sartini being let go and some of the players going out. But I think there's a bit of optimism now just before these games kick off, or just some interest, some intrigue, some excitement about the new coach, Jesper Sorensen, and then the players as well and how he utilizes them. We got a glimpse of it in the preseason. The games are streamed on YouTube, so you could watch them. You can still watch them, and you can kind of see the way that the Whitecaps want to play. It is quite different from what we saw from Vanni Sartini, so I think that's interesting for Whitecaps fans. And now you get to see it in games that matter, games that mean something. So can't wait for these games to kick off and then get a real sense of what this team will look like.
I'll make sure, Asa, that I go back and watch some preseason.
Of course you will. Yeah, with all the time you have.
So thanks for that. Yeah, I'll be right on that before I watch the Saprissa match tonight, so I get an idea what to expect. But listen, all joking aside. So yes, Saprissa tonight, and in Portland on the weekend, starting both games on the road. But the elephant in the room is the ownership situation. We know that. Is that going to hang heavy over this season, or once they start kicking a ball in anger, is it going to be a question of that's put to the side and we'll worry about it when it happens?
Sharms, we talked about it a little bit the last time I was on a couple months ago, and I honestly think that the results will have a lot to do with this. I think if they struggle at the gate, these first sort of 3, 4, 5 games would be really important for the Vancouver Whitecaps. If they struggle at the gate, I think that that's going to be an issue that comes up over and over again. It's something that's talked about. But I think that winning is the ultimate Band-Aid. And people start talking about the new coach, the team, hopefully some young, exciting players, because I think that he will be utilizing some of these young players for the Vancouver Whitecaps that we haven't seen a lot of in the last couple of years. So I think the narrative will change, or at least take some of the pressure off and kind of put that issue aside for a little bit if they get some good results. But it'll come right back, Sharms, once we do get some news. And I think it's one of these things that every time you get some sort of, leak or some little story about someone being interested in the club, it'll come up, it'll resurface, it'll be talked about again until the team is ultimately sold. But the expectations for the team or the narrative, the talk will definitely be around how they're doing, how the new coach does for the first little bit, especially if they start winning. If they lose, if they go a different direction, then I think the focus will definitely be on the ownership.
They do a good job keeping things quiet there, don't they? As far as stories leaking, because the Armstrong thing came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Even Fafa leaving was pretty quiet at the time. The coach, I mean, some media outlets got it all wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
Didn't.
Keep it pretty close to the vest. It's it's tough to get. You know what's funny about that one? Oh, good story. I think because Craig, you mentioned it was the name? It was Voltaire
Wagner.
Who was kind of rumored about, right? Sorry,
Wagner.
Wagner. Yes, that's right. I was coaching the kids that night before. You sent that tweet out, and I had somebody, one of these coaches with them. The kids play at ICSF, so an Italian community, old Italian club, and there's a lot of the old Italian guys hanging about, and had somebody come up to me and kind of whisper into my ear. It's like, I heard who the next coach is going to be. And he whispers that name into my ear. The only other person around me was my wife. Like, she could care less about who the next Whitecaps coach might be. But he felt the need to come and whisper this into my ear. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I was also like, don't just go whispering into someone's ear in public like this. Like, I don't know you that well.
He also
They're
said,
ducking and
very
dodging,
nice,
like,
meet me in the bathroom.
Yeah.
We have something
shorts
to
are
talk
very
about.
small today.
Yeah. So I like get this random leak while coaching my kids soccer.
It has been too long.
Oh,
Asa.
it's so good.
Your dirty stories brings us down all the time.
Yeah. So then when I saw the Craigs, I was like, yeah, I heard the same thing. Yeah. So good.
Good source, though, Craig. In fairness, all joking aside.
Well, the ownership thing, was a massive part of it.
Oh, was it?
I don't know.
I think there was a lot that went into that. I think there was a lot going on there. I wouldn't be surprised if that person was like obviously in the running and pretty high up there. And that's how these stories kind of go around and then reach someone in the Italian community here coaching soccer. But as far as Jesper goes, really excited about seeing him in action because you could hear him going back to those YouTube videos of the games that were streamed. You could hear him like picked up on the mic and very vocal and in charge of kind of what they want to do. Really wants to see sort of them building out the back, keeping possession. A little different from what we saw from Vanity Sartini. So Sorensen wants to keep possession and wants to kind of dictate play. So. We'll see what that looks like, but at least it seems like he's got a firm handle on this team.
So Armstrong leaves, Fafa leaves, Raposo leaves as well. In comes Emmanuel Sabi. I think the past week he joined, didn't he? Jaden Nelson returns from Europe. TFC fans know about Jaden Nelson. So there is some player turnover there. Is it enough to improve this team? Because they're big names on the way out there.
Honestly, just on paper, I don't think they've replaced Stuart Armstrong for like his resume and what he brings to the table. You don't have a clear replacement there. So you will need players to step up. Ali Ahmed is someone we talked about all year last year, kind of waiting to see him really have an impact. And it never really happened because injury and other things and maybe system setup style. So that's another player where, you'd like to see him elevate his game. JC Ngando's looked pretty good in the preseason as well. So there might be some of these young players that they've had in the system that know, that are familiar with the Whitecaps and have some chemistry with the team. And the 11 looks pretty good. I think that they've got some pieces there. The depth will be tested. Raposo's another one that's gone. Alessandro Schopf as well. Players that did log minutes for the Vancouver Whitecaps. So there are minutes available. Sam Adekubi's another one who was battling injuries last year, and we didn't really see Sam Adekubi have a huge impact for the Vancouver Whitecaps. So these are players that they can expect to see more of an impact this year. And I think if you get more from those players, you've got something. The Savvy signing really interesting because Brian White, they rely so heavily on. Ryan Gault gets all the attention, the captain, the catalyst for this team. But Brian White, last year there's really nobody that could do what he does. And when he had to miss time or maybe was struggling to score, they didn't really have anyone else that could do what he does. So Savvy should give them something a little bit there. But now he's out with an injury for 2 to 3 weeks. So Brian White's gonna have to do the heavy lifting for the early going here.
I was going to say, Asa, I know you gather the family around the old-timey radio in the living room and listen to Footy Prime nonstop. MLS Season Pass came out with their predictions, and I'm going to pull it up. And TFC was going to be 14th or 15th in the East so they aggregated, and this is what they came up with good old Vancouver Whitecaps, LAFC and Sounders and Galaxy, top 3. But Vancouver, number 14, they predict.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I understand it, Wonger. Yeah. I understand it because I think on paper they didn't really make the impact you'd expect to see in the offseason to improve when a lot of other teams did. But that's on paper. I think for me, the the X factor for the Caps would be Jesper Sorensen, to see what he can do with these players. Because there isn't, like you said, we've talked about Stuart Armstrong leaves and they don't really replace that quality. And that was a player that I was really excited to see this season, because he came in towards the end of last year and we just got these glimpses of these magical plays, and then that was it, and the season was done. So I was excited to see him with the full preseason going into this year. He's gone. They don't really replace it. So I understand when you're analyzing this team, you're looking at what they have, why they would be towards the bottom, especially because the sort of unknown. There's nothing really kind of this is the reason why they'll do well, aside from Jesper Sorensen kind of unlocking something and getting Ali Ahmed, Sam Adekubi going with this group.
Do you think Asa, with this CONCACAF Champions Cup matchup tonight and then opening the MLS campaign on Saturday, that you don't really get a sense of who Sorensen's kind of nailed down 11 is, like his best case kind of, I want to win a game, this is who I'm going with, and you have to wait a little bit of time to see really what emerges in terms of his best 11?
Yeah, for us, kind of analyzing, assessing this team, we don't really have a clear picture. I think we have some sense of how he wants to go. I'd imagine at this stage, he feels pretty confident about a group that he feels he can go into the first 45, 60 minutes in this first match against Saprissa, and then kind of tinker with the lineup from there. But some things will be revealed as well. Just the players that he can trust, especially with the way he wants to play. I think that we're going to learn a lot, especially from this first game. But you also saw them through those preseason games in Marbella, get more familiar with the lineup, get a better understanding of who he wants to play where. And the team seemed to get better and more unified as well. At the last preseason game, Ali Ahmed scored a goal, but it was a build-up. And there were a few sequences in that game where they strung together 14, 15 passes before putting it away. And that was really cool to see. Something we didn't see a whole lot of in the past. Sure, knocking it about, but never with the finish. So we saw that a little bit in the preseason, and that's really encouraging going into this year. But again, preseason, so hard to put too much weight into that, right? Like everyone's changing their lineup, and you don't know the intensity of the game. So we'll find out a lot, like you said, Dubs, in the next two matches, which are in quick succession tonight and then Sunday afternoon for us here. So quick turnaround, right back at it.
How awful a place is Vancouver to live that Stuart Armstrong couldn't handle it and got out of Dodge?
There it is. He's starting it now, hey?
Yeah. So did he get like an apartment on Hastings or something?
No,
like what?
David Duchovny didn't like it, and now Stuart Armstrong hates it. No, it's a beautiful place. I think it was they had a young baby. I think it was family reasons to go back home as well. So
he went to Spain.
You understand it. Pardon me?
So he went to Spain.
No, he went to
the
Spain.
Air was too fresh in Vancouver.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think that it does. I wonder why, had they known this situation and that he's obviously has a newborn or young child, why you bring him in to Vancouver, knowing that this is very real possibility. I think that's the question. But sometimes you take that gamble and that risk for a player of that caliber.
With the players that you've lost and the players that you've brought in, are you happy with the situation where the club is right now? Because I'm looking at it, the last 2 years, you finished, 6th, you finished 8th, you win back-to-back Canadian championships, you get rid of your manager. So what are the expectations for the Whitecaps this year, and what do you think? And what would make a great season?
I think at this stage, making the playoffs is the goal. I'm not overwhelmed by the players that were brought in for sure, but I think that they've done some sort of smart business, some decent business. Like I'm encouraged and excited to see Emmanuel Savvy. I think they can bring Jaden Nelson's another like interesting sort of, I want to say reclamation project, but the kid's only 22 years old. Like, there's still so much potential and upside for him as well. Ralph Priso's been a kid that I've enjoyed watching as well. Kind of when he's come in and spelled under his Kubas, and I know he wasn't an off-season acquisition, but a player that they brought in. I think they've done some sort of smart moves over the last few years. Just going back to Craig's point, with the team up for sale, maybe it is hard to get that big player, that bigger name, that bigger impact player to come in to add to the Vancouver Whitecaps. So so much of it's gonna lean on Jesper Sorensen, which you've said over and over again. But Jimmy, like, coach can have that sort of impact. You can change some things. You can instill new belief in what you're doing, and that would go a long way. They have to stay healthy. That can be said for every team, though, obviously. But the 11 looks pretty good. The core of the team is still there. The Yohei Takaoka, Ranko Veselinovic, Tristan Blackman, Andres Kubas, Ryan Gauld, Brian White, and then you've got your Ali Ahmed, Sam Adekubis. Still got some players around him as well, right, to create something here. You're
spinning more confident than the MLS predictions from Apple. Let's document it. Where are they finishing? This is an Asa Raymond call.
Where are they finishing?
1 out of 15.
8.
Oh, they're making the playoffs.
Yeah, because I'm the optimist. There it is.
I really hope for TFC's standpoint that Ralph Priso and Jaden Nelson and Ali Ahmed all have great seasons.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes they need that change of scenery, though, right? Like, sometimes it's motivating. You need a new look. You need new voice, new manager. It can give you something. I thought Jaden Nelson's looked pretty good in the preseason games that I watched on YouTube over and over again. So
someone
are you okay?
Quite the daylight.
It sounds like you're trying to convince yourself that they're going to be good this year.
Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of that too, Jimmy.
All right, well, give us one reason for huge optimism and one reason for huge concern this season.
Yeah, I want to say something different, but it is the reason for optimism would be Jesper Sorensen, and nothing against Vanni Sartini. I think goes down as the best Whitecaps coach in the MLS era. So big shoes to fill for Jesper Sorensen as well. But we also saw a team that kind of got stagnant, stale towards the end, and had similar results over the 3 seasons with Vanni Sartini. So they couldn't get over the hump. And that was part of the reason for the change from Axel, is to change that up, change the voice in the locker room. And that's why he brought in Jesper Sorensen, and quickly seeing the impact that he can have, the changes that he's made, the different ways that he'll utilize players. And you might get a little bit more out of Ryan Gauld and Ali Ahmed and Brian White. He's performed at a high level as well. So excited to see what's Jesper Sorensen can do with this group, and that's the reason for optimism. I guess the concern with this group would be just that lack of firepower, which they lacked at times last year as well. When you look at the other teams that would come in, whenever it would be one of those top teams, like Ricky Puig could come and take over a game. Definitely be that player that everyone looks at to have an impact. Denny Bouanga as well. These sorts of players are like, oh, he's going to flip this game. That's a pretty close game, and you can keep it kind of cagey and tight, and then that person's going to give you that difference. And Ryan Gauld would kind of do it at times, but outside of him, they lack that other person. And then you thought going into this year it'd be Stuart Armstrong. So that could be the case once again, where they don't get that secondary creative player that can unlock a defense and give them something going forward. So that'd be the concern. And then if you don't have that, then it might be difficult to get goals. And then that'd be another tough season and a tough sell for home games, especially if you're not scoring. At least if you're scoring, you're losing, big scoring games, 4-3 or whatever. I think that there's some excitement there. You can get behind that. But the worst case scenario, the most disappointing thing would be to see this team struggle to score, which could end up happening here.
Well, it all kicks off tonight with Saprissa, and then on the weekend against Portland. Asa, as usual, we will take advantage of your I don't know what I'm looking for here.
Are you whispering something in my ear? What's going on?
No, just trying to take advantage of the fact that you will do this for nothing. On a regular basis until we can pay you something.
His financial negotiation skills.
What else am I doing at 7 a.m., right?
Well, I don't want to know, actually. Hey. But, thanks so much, pal. Good Always stuff. Great talking to you. And we'll talk to you next week sometime.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Asa.
That is Asa Rahman. You can get Asa's call on Vancouver television, global, I think, isn't it? I think I'm still showing the games this season, and of course on Footy Prime. Asa is the best. So lots of questions still to be answered.
The best of us, really. He's the best of us.
Yes.
He is.